The official record is a clean, sterile thing. It states that the U.S. government's 1874 topographical survey expedition, led by Lieutenant Colonel James Marshall, vanished in the uncharted depths of the Ozark Mountains. It concludes with a single, stark entry: no remains recovered, case closed. But I, Professor Alastair Finch, hold the key that the record does not. I was the architect of their doom. I provided the map, copied in a feverish sweat from the blood-stained journal of a fur trapper who was found half frozen on the banks of the White River, his eyes gouged out, babbling about a place where the sky wept and the earth swallowed sounds. He called it the stillness. The Cherokee, the old ones, had other names for it. Names they would only whisper. The place where the world thins, the land that dreams. The expedition was comprised of 20 of the nation's finest, hard men, men of science and steel, geologists to read the bones of the earth, cartographers to pin the unknown to paper, seasoned infantrymen who had faced down Confederate charges and Sioux war parties. They were a scalpel sent to dissect a wilderness. They did not understand they were being sent to diagnose a cancer. Their last camp was not discovered for 6 months. A cavalry patrol, led by a grim-faced captain named Shaw, found it, and what they found, or rather, what they did not find, defied all reason. The camp was pristine, a ghost town frozen in a single held breath. Tents stood taut, their guy lines tight. Within, bedrolls were neatly folded. A coffee pot, now a solid block of rust, sat atop a cold fire ring. Rifles were stacked in perfect pyramids, each breech clean, each barrel empty of ammunition. It was a diorama of military order, a life-sized model of a campsite from which the inhabitants had simply evaporated. It was the journals that told the true story. They were all there, laid out on a makeshift table as if for inspection. The early entries were meticulous, filled with the dry prose of science, measurements of rock strata, notes on mineral deposits, sketches of unusual flora. But the tone shifted. The handwriting, once disciplined, began to fray at the edges. Private Miller's log, day 22. Geologist's compass has been spinning since dawn. There is no true north. It points toward the large, twisted oak to the east, then the stand of pines to the west. It is as if the magnetic pole is everywhere and nowhere at once. Captain says it is a local lodestone deposit. I am not so sure. Dr. Evans' medical log, day 25. A profound silence has fallen over the valley, not merely an absence of sound, but an active suppression of it. The birds do not sing. The insects do not chirp. The men report a sensation of pressure in the ears, as if descending a great depth. I have examined them. There is no physical blockage. The silence is external. It is listening to us. Corporal Jenkins' personal diary, day 28. I awoke last night to the sound of a child's laughter, clear as a bell. It came from the tree line. I took a lantern and went to investigate. I saw a boy, no more than 7, standing between 2 birch trees. He was wearing the little sailor suit my mother made for me. It was me, my younger self. He smiled, waved, and then was not there. I am a rational man. I have seen battle. I have never known a fear like this. The final entries were a descent into pure, unadulterated horror. The words were scrawled, the ink blotted with what looked like sweat or tears. Unidentified entry, day 30. The shadows are wrong. They move with a purpose that is not tied to the sun. Jenkins saw his own shadow detach itself from his feet and walk into the woods. He has not spoken since. Dr. Evans' final entry, day 31. Marshall is losing his command, not to mutiny, but to something else. This morning, Private Collins was found staring at a rock. He claimed he could see his entire life from birth to this very moment, reflected in its quartz veins. He said it was so much smaller than he'd imagined. He has not moved in 6 hours. We cannot break his fixation. The land is reflecting us back at ourselves, and the men are becoming mesmerized by their own insignificance. And then, the last page. Marshall's own log. The writing was a frantic, spidery scrawl that covered the entire page, the letters large and desperate. IT mimics, IT learns, IT wears your memories like a skin, IT pulls the past from your mind and drapes IT over the trees. Do not look at the faces in the fog, do not listen to the voices that sound like home. It is hungry for what we are. It has no face of its own, so it seeks to wear ours. It has taken Collins. It spoke with his voice, but the words were not his. The trees are not trees. The ground is not ground. It remembers, do not follow. For God's sake, if anyone finds this, do not come looking, tell Finch. Tell him IT found the map. IT knows WHO drew IT. Captain Shaw, a man not given to superstition, ordered an immediate retreat. His men, hardened veterans, needed no encouragement. They fled that valley as if pursued by an entire army, though not a single soul was seen. The last man to leave was Shaw's scout, a man named Red Cloud, whose people had known these mountains for 1,000 years. As he mounted his horse, he paused, his body rigid. He stared into the dense, watching woods, his hand trembling as he raised it to point, Captain, he whispered, his voice cracking. That large, gnarled oak at the edge of the clearing, the one with the bark that looks like a screaming face, what of it? Shaw had barked, his own nerves frayed to breaking. It was not there yesterday, Red Cloud said, and, God help me, it has the colonel's eyes. The official record was sealed, the case was closed, but I am Alastair Finch, the man who drew the map. The man whose name was in that final damning entry. And now the silence has followed me home. It is in my study at Miskatonic University. It pools in the corners of the room when the gas lights are low. Sometimes in the dead of night I am woken by a sound. It is not the wind, it is not the house settling, it is the faint, insistent, metallic click of a telegraph key tapping out from the empty basement below. It taps in no known code. It is slow, patient learning. It is learning how to spell my name.